we got you Mama Summit on today's episode. We have the lovely, Alissa Alter. I almost said we have the lovely Amy Poehler of Vaginas here with us today. I was thinking about you last night when we were chatting over email, and I was like, you know what would be so fun? And I don't know if it fed into my dreams at night, or maybe I was daydreaming. I was like, I pictured us like on stage, like singing, and it was like this self-produced, like we wrote this like musical on mothers, and it was like it involved like different parodies from that we turned in from other shows. It was legit. I would say in this dream, like we made it happen. And so I don't know if this is something that like I feel like I need to put out in the universe that needs to happen one day.
I love
New
this.
York, I'm in LA. Like, maybe this is
Do you
just,
sing?
I was a musical theater geek and like all the things. I wasn't as like, didn't work as in that field. I'm after out in LA and did that and still sprinkle in that and all that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
not as, involved as you, my dear, with all the singing and dancing. But I do love a good musical.
Well, I was
And
going
I
to say
just had to share that with you.
I did a one-woman show about motherhood while I was pregnant with my second,
That's so
because
great.
I had done my first one-woman show about divorce and dating
Yeah.
before I met.
Yeah.
Well, I actually had met Jeremy by the time I performed the show, but I wrote it before that. So, I mean, obviously, a duet is next,
I mean,
right?
clearly.
This is the
The
natural
summit and then
progression
the
of things.
musical and then like the
Yeah,
network broadcast show and like, the sky's the limit. Let's be honest. If we can find
100%.
a
This is the
way to
sequence of
like,
events.
yes, bring the arts into also supporting all the moms, that is also a goal of mine and I'm here for it. So thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you. I'm so happy to be here.
I had to share about that because I know you love to sing and dance, and so do I.
I do. My
Okay,
favorite.
so how did you get this name, Amy Poehler of Vaginas? Fill us in on who you are. I mean, I guess let me introduce you a little bit more than
Okay.
I guess you could maybe do that better, but you have been singing and dancing and doing all those things for 35 plus years, practicing Pilates, 23 plus years, yoga, 21 plus years. I love how in your bio, you're like, and I look so young, all those years of
I
all
mean, it's hard to believe.
it's amazing. And I love how you just have this unfiltered, raw, funny way of expressing all the things motherhood. Yeah, so we're going to launch more into you and what you do and why you are named the Amy Poehler of Vaginas, and talk about exercise and your Pilates and all the things. So take it away.
So yeah, I joke that my parents, signed me up for dance class when I was about 3, the way you do young children, sign them up for activities, and they had no idea what they were getting into because I just didn't stop. So I've always danced. I had a long and successful career in musical theater. And when I was graduating college, I was like, I don't want to wait tables while I'm performing. I want to get my Pilates certification and teach Pilates so that the way that I'm spending my time, outside of auditioning and shows, I feel really good about it. And that even like at 22, I was like, and then when I'm finished dancing, I will have all these years of experience. I won't have to start over then. I'll have built something.
Right.
Which, went for me when I was 22, I'm like, look at how smart you were, Alissa, while I was also so dumb. But also so smart, but so dumb and so smart. So, thank you to that past version of me. And along the way, while I was performing and teaching, I had a back injury. And as I was rehabbing that injury, I was talking to my PT. I was like, I think it comes from my pelvis. And she was getting trained to be a pelvic floor physical therapist. And she was like, yes. And like, wait till I tell you about the pelvic floor. And my brain exploded. And I really started diving into the pelvic floor and these muscles and the way that they work and the way that like muscles move bones. So they move your pelvis and how your pelvis is operating and your hips and lower back. and feet. And like at this point in my career, I had accumulated, some tendonitis in my feet and ankles, bunions, residual injuries from various shows and things. Um, and I was like, oh my gosh. And like, if I address this one area, though, I'm actually making progress systemically through my whole body. And I became obsessed. And this was 7 years before I had kids. I was married to somebody else and like actively not having kids with them when I became obsessed with this. And I am just someone who I don't keep things to myself. I am very, I don't believe in TMI. I'm telling everyone everything. And so I started talking to my clients and talking about the pelvic floor and how it, supports us, like our musculoskeletally. Like I went from an injured dancer, right, back into 8 shows a week after a herniated disc, and then from there, my career really catapulted and I was working with, even bigger choreographers and directors and shows. And so like really getting back to my A game. And then I went on to have kids, which, I was very happy to know what I know when my first son tore me from stem to stern. I say that he was born rectovaginally because he came out of both my vagina and my rectum. So we had some serious recovery to do. Yeah. And this really kind of catapulted the fire within me to share what I know, because I was so hurt by this experience, both emotionally and physically injured.
100%.
Yeah. And I kept thinking that I know so much. Like I know how to recover from an injury. I know how the pelvic floor works. I know how muscles behave. I know that recovery isn't linear. I have an understanding of the time frame, and I still feel so lost and alone and out of control. And I have the tools. Right. And I kept thinking, like, this doesn't happen to just people who have tools. This happens to people regardless. And thankfully, it's not everybody's 2 whole tears when they have a baby, but women do experience, birthing people, we experience tearing. We experience all these other, it's like a sports injury having a baby, but we don't have the tools to understand and work with and then nurture our own bodies back to our A game, right, back to everything that you want to be doing with your life. Like you don't have to go back to like 8 shows a week doing switch leaps, pirouettes, and cooter slams. Like your goal could be getting back on the trampoline, or maybe like me at the beginning, it was to be able to stand up off the floor without farting. You can have those dreams come true, right? And because of this all does answer the question. So with my performance background, and I also spent many years performing improv comedy, namely musical improv, where we make up a musical, but doing a lot of comedy. I was talking to a friend, it was a friend of a friend, and she's now a friend, but at that time we were getting to know each other. And she was like, oh my God, you're like the Amy Poehler of vaginas. Because I'm talking, she's like, you're talking about all this pelvic health stuff, but it's so fun and so funny. You're like the Amy Poehler of vaginas. And I said, I'm going to use that. And that's how I was gifted the name, the Amy Poehler of the vaginas.
I love that so much. I mean, it makes sense. We need more comfortability around the topic. And I think sometimes if you just sit down and you get a lecture on all the things that can go in one ear and out the other, right? Yes. And I think we need to find creative ways in getting information out there, and so you're using your assets and your skills and your, experience as, an actor and as a performer, and with, your decades and decades of experience with all the things, and bringing that together. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, because thankfully there is so much more conversation going on about matrescence in general, right? Like the process of becoming a mother and all of the aspects of that, and about the pelvic floor specifically. But I myself find that, and I found this a lot when I was healing from my first birth, and it was like, I need help. Who will help me? And all the information I found was either super clinical and dry that it just felt even more isolating, even though
Right.
the information was good. It just, I wasn't being met where I was at as a
Yeah.
person with that.
You're newly
Um,
postpartum, you're already in the trenches and like you're ripped in half.
yeah.
And then you're like
And,
Googling and you're like, can someone just like tell me what's up?
or it was such, it was only the like horrible stories
Right.
of people having, you know, sort of the worst case scenario of everything. And I found that that wasn't just isolated to like my specific fourth degree tear. It just
Right.
across the board with pelvic health, it was either so clinical that it's unrelatable, or I'm never going to be okay again. And I was like, wait a minute, there is so much in between. I have worked with so many people who, you know, have come to me, whether they've had children or not, too. But, you know, postpartum, whether it's like the urinary incontinence, um, whether it is pain with sex, or even just I'm not having sex because I'm afraid I'm gonna, you know, I don't know how to connect with my own body in this way to then show up with this body with someone, you know,
Yeah.
and addressing also like what is happening in your physical body that you can then feel comfortable and centered with that to move toward, whether it's sneezing, what, you know, and staying dry, or being intimate with yourself or your partner, or trying out the trampoline at your kid's birthday party, or whatever it is.
Right.
Because all of these, I think I'm like having this idea as I'm speaking, but it's not a new idea. It feels like so many of the things that and transitions that we go through as a new mom, they each feel like a life sentence. And the reality is everything keeps changing. And our
Yeah.
bodies are the same way. Muscles change the same way that if you stop working out, they get soft and like less responsive.
Mhm.
The same way they do that, the same way if you start using them again, they like bulk up and become springy and really responsive. Like our bodies can change. And so I think we just though have been taught to accept so many things that really are just kind of stepping stones in the recovery from childbirth, and they don't have to be where you
Yeah.
land
Yeah. Stop
unless you
normalizing
want to
peeing your
stay there.
pants. Yeah. Stop
Right, like
normalizing peeing your pants. Yeah. Because our
you
mothers
don't
peed their pants their entire life and never jumped on the trampoline with you, right? Like I remember my mom not
right.
participating and I'm like, oh well, that's gonna be me someday. And
Right. And so the first person you ask is like your mom, who's
yeah.
like, oh, yeah, I couldn't do that after kids. And so we think that that's just the deal. But these are muscles.
Mhm.
These are muscles. And they, same thing with like I had a cesarean with my second, and which I chose and I love. It was a scheduled C-section and I loved it. I just want to put that out there because I think it's another thing we only hear
Right.
the the ups, like the traumatic stories around C-sections,
Right.
which I'm not invalidating, but also just to put a deposit in, like sometimes they're great. Uh
Well, and your experience was the exact same as my sister's, like fourth degree tear. They sewed her up
oh,
wrong, like, like talk about horror story
that's
and then
not
like
fair.
pooping
That's
her
not
pants
fair.
forever, right? And then not being able to do that again, then having to have a C-section. So best of both worlds, you know what I mean?
Best
But
of both
that
worlds.
was a better choice. Yes, recommended by doctors, but also like let's not make the situation that's been so horrible, worse. And then
Yeah,
it can be okay to have to do both, right? Yeah.
100%. Our bodies are absolutely incredible. And I think after a C-section, you know, we expect to completely lose feeling kind of
Mhm.
forever for the numbness to stay. But that doesn't, nerves can regrow. Like there are
Yeah.
things that you can do. And also, people call like it's called the C-section shelf, the like all
Right.
of these other things in terms of like how your muscles function and the skin and the way things sit. And
And the scar tissue and like all those things.
the
Yeah.
yeah, but with all of that, there actually really is there's so much that you can do, and it isn't super inaccessible. It's
Right.
not only for the rich and famous. It's
Yeah.
not only for, you know, the
Right.
A-listers. It's for all of
Right.
us. It's really at home things that we can do to, not because we need to return to any sort of aesthetic, like forget that, just, but function, to be
Yeah.
able to feel your body, be connected to your body, have command over your body, to feel safe and knowledgeable in your body.
Right. We only get one.
Treat her well,
Yes. 100%.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how you said that, like, whatever aesthetics, like aside, like you just want to feel good, right? You want to
Yeah,
like feel what's going on and like not just accept like, oh, well, if I ever, that's going to take massive surgery someday if I ever want that, like debunking all the things. And we did have a, pelvic floor therapist on here talking, all the time about, you maybe you'll need surgery, but let's try all these other things first to
but
bring that,
yes,
to heal your DR, to do like there are so many
a
avenues,
100%.
Yeah.
And if you do that work with a physical therapist, with a Pilates instructor, with a yoga instructor, with someone who's informed
Right.
in how this population of bodies works, really,
Yeah.
even if like you might still need surgery, but you are going to have much better outcomes from that if your body is prepared for surgery, prepared to heal, but also like thinking like with diastasis, if you're at 4 fingers and you can close it to 3 fingers and then they do the procedure,
Right.
you're like,
Yeah. Let's
you
prep
are going to
yourself
have a
all the
better
way
out.
up until, yeah, let's prep yourself all the way up
Yeah,
until, and that kind of leads into like exercising while pregnant. Let's prep our bodies. Let's be as strong as possible to go through this thing called childbirth, right? To then
right.
heal from childbirth. You know what I mean? And that's going to be different for everybody, the process of growing a child and the process of delivering
Yeah,
a baby. Um how important, because I know we're both in this, exercise realm, teaching moms, to
yeah.
move their bodies and exercise and how important that is, like postnatally. So like how soon do you have moms take that Pilates class that you offer? How soon? I love Pilates for like a bazillion different reasons, but
Me too.
it's not it's not something that we see a lot of, like a postnatal Pilates class, you know what I mean? Although I feel like we should see a lot more of that. So tell us a little
Yeah.
bit more about like your class and how, working out and taking the time to do certain things, and what those certain things can be, soon after baby to get, yourself moving. And again, not for aesthetic reasons, but like, let's get feeling better. Let's get, those chemicals in
Yes.
our brain. Let's get, get that strength back.
Yeah. And also, like, let's be like real. You like, you're already kind of working out with when you brought a baby home and you are feeding the baby however you're feeding the baby,
Right.
you're moving that baby around, you're now taking care of another baby. There's a lot of demand on your body while you're healing, and there is movement that you can do that is perfectly safe, not more strenuous than what you're already doing, because you don't need to spend what little energy is left in the tank, like on the Peloton,
No.
when you have just had a baby and are
Right.
sleeping no longer than 3 hours in a row at night, if you're lucky, you
Yeah.
know? Like, that is not a good use of your energy, but there is movement that you can do that leaves you feel it, that fills up your tank a little bit, right? Like, gives you a little energy and addresses, like, my upper back was on fire. Like,
Mhm.
even 3 weeks postpartum, like on fire from I was breastfeeding. So I had these gigantic, heavy boobs.
Mhm.
And all of my time was spent hunched
Right.
over or lying down because I was trying to sleep,
Right.
or I was feeding or rocking the
Or you're
baby.
changing the baby over the table, or
Just
you're, yeah.
so,
Mhm.
oh my God. So it's as
I think all of
simple
us just sat
as,
up a little straighter.
I know, it just
It's
like,
like, oh
oh,
my gosh,
so
let's roll the
I
shoulders
posted
down and
a
back.
I I posted a reel on my Instagram probably 2 weeks postpartum, just inhaling and lifting my arms out to the sides and up, and exhaling,
Right.
lowering them down. And like the caption was like, this feels so like I've never felt anything better in my entire life. Like just lifting my arms while I was
Right.
breathing in and lowering them while I was breathing
Right.
out. And I think that that's like one of the biggest this is not one of the biggest shifts. It's just another big
Right.
shift. That's what I was about to say. And I was like, that's not
That's not
true.
it. That's
There are
not what I'm
so
gonna
many
put out there.
bigger shifts. But there is a really big shift, or we need to allow this shift to happen. Once you have a baby, what working out means.
Yes.
And so I find sometimes I don't even say working out, which I
Yeah.
think sometimes comes back and bites me in the butt, because then people think like my classes are super
Right.
easy, therefore a waste of time, which I understand. I
Yeah.
understand we're short on time. I want to make sure if I'm spending time doing something, I need to get what I need to get.
Right.
But I don't like to say working out, because when you are newly postpartum, like I said before, like the idea of like working out, right?
Yeah.
Which I know is not what you're teaching either. Like we are
Yeah.
so in alignment on this. Um, we have to honor what's already in the gas tank, which is not that much, and that most of it is spoken for,
Right.
right? So it's like we can't ignore that. And so really, it's about meeting yourself where you're at, connecting with that. Where am I at today? How much do I have to give? Feeling really great about giving what you have and pulling back when you need to, because that's better for you and therefore way better for your family and
Yeah.
your baby. Because like think back to like also those early days, like my youngest is almost 11 months. So this is recent, but
Mm-hmm.
like the days when I would accidentally do too much. And I'll tell you what, I have been nicer to my family than on those days. Like I was not nice to anybody because I
Yeah.
couldn't.
No,
I
you're
had
just
nothing
done.
left.
You're done. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you can't even handle your feelings because you don't
No.
have the energy for that.
No. No.
And you don't have to because you just had a baby. So you have a full
Right.
pass, but also it feels
100%.
better
It
when
feels
you
better to
do
not
have a
have to.
little bit left.
Yes. 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 So we go and I've been using the term a lot, move your bodies. Just come move your bodies with us. The
Yes.
biggest work is getting out the door with the baby.
Oh, a hundred
That's the
percent.
work. But once you get there and you're like, oh, there's a bunch of other moms. Oh, she's breastfeeding while, or lunging and
She's
like, oh,
there
like,
in the same
girl,
space I am, or recently were, and we're just gonna move our back. You always feel better.
yeah, get outside if you get the chance to, whether it's cold or rainy or whatever, just step outside. Like you said, do one of those.
Just lift
Right?
your arms
Lift your
above your head.
arms.
And that's something I say, because I think what you said is just so true. Like the hardest part, the biggest lift is getting
Doing it.
started. Is
Doing.
whether it's getting out the door,
Yeah.
whether it's like pulling up the video, clicking
Yeah.
clicking the button, but even still, like just getting yourself
Yeah.
there. And
I heard
so
this fun
I
thing the other day, real quick, just because it's at the top of my brain
yes,
and I'm going to lose it. But I think it was, I don't know, I was listening to Mel Robbins podcast or something a few weeks ago, and she was talking about the Nike slogan, just do it. And she's like, what do you think is
yes,
most important? Is it the do? Is it the it? And it was like, it's just the just. And I was like, yes, it's
just
just
do
the
it.
just,
Yes,
like just.
just do it.
The
That's
just can
some
sometimes be the most challenging, but like, don't put any pressure around it. Just attempt and just.
well, and that's something that I tell people, because it is what I do and have done, and especially like I still do it now, but even I just was so much more in aware of what I was choosing to do and why and whatnot this second time around
Sure.
than with my
It's
first, right?
yeah, it's
Because
not
you have
new
a little
anymore.
more,
Yeah.
it's not brand new. I wish I'd had that perspective the first time, but that's not real.
No.
You
Mm-mm.
can't until you've lived it.
Mhm.
Um, but like I took my own postpartum classes. Like I queued up like my online course. It was like, Alissa, you are enrolled. And I would start the video and I just had no attachment to how much of it I got done. How I would do however much I either had the attention span for, the energy for, or until the baby cried. And then I would hit pause and I didn't close the window, so that the next time I had an opportunity, whether it was later that day or 2 days later, I would just start where I had stopped.
Great. Yeah.
And kept going. Because again, it's just doing it. But I think that there can be just so much pressure that if I'm going to move my body, if I'm going to work out, which I'm using air quotes because we're sort of,
I get a
playing
whole
around with
hour
what we mean by
I
that.
gotta, yeah.
It has to look like how it used to look. It's an hour, it's at the studio, and I'm in the perfect outfit and my hair is, do you know what I mean? It's like the perfect version, which like when that happens is great. But sometimes it's stopping the video. Sometimes it's rolling up with your stroller and warm up's over and your hair is on the side of your head and your kid has one sock on and the other one's in their mouth and you're throwing Cheerios at them and you're there.
Yeah.
Like it.
And finding a space that supports
just do
that.
it.
Finding a space that supports that, right? Like, we don't care that you're late. We're not going to lock the door. Like, come and you make it for like cool down and stretching, and then the babies run around and play. Great. Like, just find that space,
100%.
find that village that just wants you there, no matter what time, no matter what state you're in, and if you can't find that village, I mean, I'm creating this summit in this space for you to come and to relate and have access to a lot of our experts, to be able to join them and to be able to take their courses or to have a consult. Like, it is really cool because I want to create this village that maybe you're not finding in your own community, or maybe you're in those trenches of postpartum depression and you're like, I can't right now, I can't like get outside my house to do anything. And so
100%
open your computer and be able to hear information from who's been through it, and hear some solutions, and the neuroscientist that talks about your baby brain and empowers you, saying like, no, actually your brain is shrinking, but because it is becoming more efficient and powerful, right? And so like, actually this mommy brain is like, it's part of your superpower you are raising and providing for a human, and that it's getting rid of all the junk. Like, who cares if you
don't have room for all the junk?
Yeah, who cares if you forgot so-and-so's birthday?
You don't need to.
You're keeping a human alive, Dad. Right?
Yes. 100%. 100%. And that's something that I say a lot when I'm teaching, but also when I'm speaking and presenting, and is in the free class that I'm sharing with people, is I ask, where is your vagina pointing?
Yes.
This is like my favorite go-to, because it's so efficient for like wherever you're sitting. Like, picture in your mind's eye, right? Like where your vagina is.
Yeah.
In your undercarriage. And then notice where it's pointing. So like if you're sitting with your butt tucked under, your vagina is pointing kind of forward. If you tend to have a back bend, it's pointing kind of back. And so make it so your vagina is pointing straight down.
I'm the worst. And I'm a clencher.
A butt clencher. So your vagina is probably usually pointing forward.
Right. Well, no, I
changes your posture.
Not my butt even. It's my insides. And I, talked to and work with some public floor therapists to like, I don't need to do Kegels.
No, I mean, that's another
Kegel. I'm just a Kegel.
That is such a common misconception, especially after having a baby, is that what you need is Kegels. And really, for most of us, we actually need to learn how to release. Healthy muscles can fully contract and fully release.
All right. It's like the bicep, right? They always use that bicep analogy, that like if you were just like this all the time, you would just have really tense muscle. It's not functional. You
can't do anything.
It's not going to get healthier, or it's not getting stronger. Yeah.
So if you think about your vagina pointing straight down, you'll notice that you just sit up straighter. Your posture, like you actually kind of find your alignment. And then you can notice, oh, my shoulders are rounding forward, or whatever. You can address it versus thinking of 600,000 things.
Right.
But the other reason I use that is because if we really, as people, right, who like we're mothers, we're parents, we're women who've been socialized a certain way in our society and world, we're not supposed to say vagina. We're not supposed to talk about it. We're not really supposed to be fluent in what's happening in our body, our own anatomy. These, right? Like our vulva, our anatomy is shameful, it's disgusting, it's dirty, keep
Right.
it private, clean it up. So if we start thinking about our alignment in terms of our vagina, if we get really comfortable always kind of checking in on that and that
Yeah.
part of ourselves, we are also going to become more fluent and connected to and comfortable with what our intuition is telling us, what our body is communicating to us, what our deeper wants and needs are. And if we actually connect to those, then we're going to be able to talk about them and
Yeah.
express them to someone else. Then we're going to get confident and we're going to demand that
Right.
people honor what we need also. Like, sometimes you hear things that, like, as a mom, it's like put yourself on the top of the priority list kind of things. And I get the sentiment, but it's not really about making yourself more important than any other member. It's making yourself as important.
Right.
That, right? And so
Let's not be
sometimes I'm
last.
like,
Let's not be at the bottom of the totem pole.
no,
Let's just
you
hold
be us
ourselves.
being
Yeah.
a martyr
Right.
hurts
Doesn't
our
serve anyone.
family because
Mhm.
we're a team is only as strong as its weakest member. And if you're if you're like at the end of the rope being dragged down the highway and your family's comfortably in the car, like, no, we're not, the average here has just plummeted. Like, we
Right.
want I've never
Right.
used that analogy before, but
I
that's the
like it.
image that came to my mind, like bump it, just being like, ow, ow.
Yeah.
Um,
'Cause that's what it can feel like, right? You're just trying
right.
to
But
do all the things and be all the things.
it can feel so far away to
Mhm.
put yourself on that list, to actually say, like, no, what I need is I need to leave the house for a little bit by myself, so that for even if it's 20 minutes, the only person's needs, thoughts, desires, ideas that I am with are my own,
Yeah.
or the friend I choose to call, or whatever,
Right.
right? That I just have that. And then I can come back to you, a better version of myself, and really be with you. I need to go move my body. I need to go separately and just connect with myself, figure out where my vagina is pointing. I need to breathe and lift my arms above my head. I need to do these things so that I can come back to you. And you will see it is worth it.
Mhm.
But it can feel so far away. And it really starts with taking these small moments to connect with yourself again, move your body, connect to your breath, and so, like, put the pieces back together again, and that will snowball into a bunch of really wonderful things, except for the people who, this is like a quote and a meme that goes around all the time, except for the people who benefit from you having no boundaries. It's bad for them, but it's very good for you and the people who really love you
Right.
and who are proud of you, to then, when you like express a desire, a need, a boundary, any of that, receive that as thank you for letting me know the best way to love you.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And the way that trickles down, like forever in your life, is like, it's a game changer.
Forever. I mean, and what that does with your partnership and what that models to your children
Yeah.
it's really, really, really huge.
Yeah. Teaching my boy, like that's been, it'll be interesting, right? When your little Cam gets a little older, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
surrounded by, you know, my little boy's surrounded by so many females. He got older sister, younger sister, mom, sister's now a teenager, and now our cycles are synced up. So you got two PMSers in the house, which is real special. And he will learn all the things, all the things. And I will be very straightforward with him and how, he receives that information, what he does with it, how he treats everyone, how he treats human beings. But like, let's understand females, let's understand their anatomy, let's understand, and let's teach that from a young age so that, he can go
Right.
into life and, whoever he chooses to partner with, he's going to be supportive of that person, and
Well,
just,
and I think about that a lot because I have two boys. So it's like they're learning here what to expect from a partnership, and whether they partner with a woman or not, like, they're learning and they're seeing, because my husband and I are modeling
right,
an equal partnership, which is
right,
never 50-50 across the board, but it is an equal partnership.
right,
And they will learn that not only to make their partner's needs, boundaries, desires, all of that a priority, but also their own. That in order to come together, whether it's in a romantic relationship, a friendship, a business partnership, a collaboration, that the best way to do that is for everyone to get to show up as their fullest self. And like, I feel very, I feel the weight and the importance, I think, of like at this time, what it means to be raising boys, because so much around the conversation of gender and gender roles in the home is changing. And I am excited for the possibility that they'll sort of not know anything different than,
wouldn't that be cool? Yeah.
Right. Than two equal partners. And that like you get to decide what equal means also. Like that we also can decide if you want something that looks more like what we now call like a traditional home. Like if that's honestly what you want, you can then have that. You communicate that here are the things I want and expect, and here are the right? Like how freaking cool is that? But you'll also, again, like I said before, you'll never be able to truly make those statements and know what it is you want and know what's important to you and know what, like where you need to stand up for yourself or call things out if you're not connected to your own body, to your wants and desires, and understand that they are valid and they are just as important as everyone else's.
100%. If not more.
Because it's just so easy to default. What?
I said, if not more important. I'm just kidding.
Well, like a little.
Sometimes I feel like my needs are like way more important than everyone else.
Well, but like, there's like so many jokes we can make about that, but in reality, there have been days where like my husband has a really tough day or has been really stressed out, right? And is so, I mean, listen, his bad mood looks different than my bad mood. My husband's more of an introvert. I'm not. Right. So it shows up differently, but like,
it does show differently. And then you're like, oh, what's wrong with you? You said these two words weird.
But if he's in a bad mood, like I might find it annoying and like be like, why don't you just leave? Because I'm a monster. But it doesn't affect the whole system.
Yeah.
If I'm not okay, and not just from a bad day, like if I'm not okay, if it's things have been really stressful, I'm not sleeping. For me, I mean, I'm a former, listen, I have a hard time saying former. I'm a semi-retired professional dancer. Like like my whole life, if I don't get an opportunity to move my body, she's not okay, friends. I'm not okay. Right. If like that's what's going on.
It's part of who you are. It's important to you. Yeah.
But then if I'm showing up that version of me, the whole household is a disaster. Everybody's in a mad mood. Everybody. So maybe my needs are actually a little bit more important because I'm the mom.
Yes.
And then I've complained to my husband. I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm like, why can't I have a bad day? I'm like not allowed to have a bad day because if I have a bad day now, I'm also responsible for ruining everybody else's day. That's not fair. And he's like, I don't know what to tell you. We all have a hard time when you're not okay. And I'm like, then why can't we all have an easy time doing what I want?
Right? Just do what I want and I wouldn't have such a hard day.
And I'm like, fine. But then, I mean, what's also happened is every weekend I go to dance class and it's at a pretty inconvenient time for my family.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter. I go every week.
Yeah.
I go, and my husband has noticed, he's like, you keep getting home later and later. I'm like, well, I'm becoming friends with people in the class. So I chat with them. He's like, well, could you? And I'm like, no. Because we also see as a family that since I've started doing this for myself, because I also was able to say, that's a thing I have to do. Like I came home, I was like, this is non-negotiable. I have to do this. And he was like, what? He does not sound like that at all. He's such a wonderful.
Be like, I love how you portrayed me.
I know he's so incredible. I was married before I got divorced and I married the right person this time. but we all see as a family how everything is actually much improved
Yeah.
because I do this for myself. Like for the whole week, there are other things that are important too. But when I take that time for myself, because I know what I need and I then
Yeah.
feel good, I've moved my body, I feel good in my body, I feel, carrying kids, you're like all out of
Right.
alignment and jacked up physically, but that also like energetically jacks you up too.
It
So it's
does.
like I get myself into alignment, right? Like I do, and even when I do my Pilates practices during the week, I get myself into alignment, but I'm also aligning my priorities, what's most important, what I can, like that mommy brain, like what I need to hold on to now and what I have to just
Yeah.
put down. I can't worry about that right now because I can't hold everything.
And
And I
don't feel
also,
guilty for doing
I don't
those
want
things.
to.
Yeah, don't feel guilty for doing those things that make you feel better that then benefits your whole
It
family
benefits
unit.
everyone.
Mhm.
But
I
it
often
is
say
when you first start,
empower your husbands because they
how
don't
are
like
they
to
going to
say
learn?
make him do this, make him do that. He's not the babysitter, he's the father, or if you're in the relationship as a partner, right? You are in a partnership, which means, both people contribute and
Yes.
empower them to do bedtime duty. So leave twice a week. Because the amount of times I get moms that come like, I
Yes.
can't get out of the house. I have to do bedtime. And I was like, can you do bedtime the 4 other days out of the week? And can you, 4 or 5, or can you take these 2 or 3 nights and can you come to class and can you empower your husband to take that on? Because if they do, and then they get better at it and then it becomes successful, like that will help them feel more empowered in their parenting and
Yes.
turn it on like an educational opportunity of like, you can do it.
No, it really is. And like, I married you because I am with you. We started a family because you are a competent human being.
Yeah.
I trust you. You can do this, and you have to leave the house because
Yeah.
then you're going to see. Oh man, I one time got, I say I yelled at, but I didn't actually raise my voice, but I was like, what are you doing? Because my husband apparently puts on onesies arms first and then feet, and I do feet first and then arms. And then I learned one of my friends does 1 foot, one arm, and then the other foot and arm. But I was just like, you're doing it wrong. It's feet first. And then I said, he looked at me with terror in his eyes, and I said, I'm leaving. I am the problem. You are fine. I am the
I'm
problem.
the
I have
problem, it's me.
it's me. Hi. Totally. And so it's
Yeah.
good. Like you leave the house, whether it's meet up with friends, go to a class, go for a walk around the block, let your partner do it. Because if you see it, they're doing it wrong and you're gonna have to say something. And it's gonna can become the whole thing and we're back to square one.
Right.
But it's also you learning how to like also recognize this, like you learning how to step back from your baby or your kids in
Mhm.
this way, and that gifts your child the opportunity to build that intimacy with another adult
Right.
and build those bonds that they know they have multiple people in their lives that they are safe with, they're taken care of, that will be there for him, and to have that from multiple sources, which never ever diminishes or takes away from
No.
mom,
Nope.
ever. No,
And we're born
nothing
with that. We're
can.
born attached to them, and we grew them like for a reason, right? And that,
A hundred
is
percent.
there's so much science just behind that as well. But like it, it's so, what was I gonna say? Because I had an interview with uh a pediatrician the other day that was talking a lot about environment and how that affects us and how if we're not getting out into a different environment other than the one that we're just like always like inside the house, right, always in, and how that can affect our mood and affect a bazillion other things, and how
Oh
if we
my gosh.
remove ourselves from it, and the child is part of that environment, then how that can affect us, yes, like emotionally and physically, and it can lead to
Yes.
other things, but also like further down the road, right? You're going to have a codependent child that's just has a really hard time, separating from you at 5, 6, 7 years old. And you might just have one that's in their nature anyway, but like, let's also give them the confidence to connect with other
Right.
people.
That also they are safe in their body,
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
mommy
But
goes
also,
out in the environment and does
well,
things
and
for
then
herself. And then they gain
that's
from that too. Yeah. Like, oh,
I
she does her workout class and like I come with her sometimes, or like, oh, mommy's doing this or mommy's doing that. And like, that's important for them to see, from a baby on up, like, oh, mommy does other things
yes.
other than like with me all the time, doing all the things for me and with me. Right.
Yeah, which again also gives them you're modeling for them that they get to have multiple things, that's like what we do
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah.
um and it is, I mean, it's hard, but it's also really important to go out into change your scenery, see those things, because that also, like, when you change it up, you get to see how you respond.
Right.
You learn more about yourself and how you are showing up, and then you can take the things that are helping you and also be like, I don't need that thing right now, and you can leave it behind, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But it's yeah, no, that's so important. It's making me think of, like, when we work out, there is so much benefit to repetition, right? And like having the exercises we do consistently to train our bodies and reinforce
Right.
healthy, functional, optimal movement patterns. And we also have to change things up because our bodies are so adaptable that if
Mhm.
we only do the exact same thing over and over and over again, your body then expects it, and there's no more change. There's no more
Right.
progress. You just stagnate and you're there, and it's like whatever. So you have to find the balance between the two, in the same way that we do that with our physical body. And I mean, that's exercise physiology, that's exercise science. We know this
Mhm.
about muscle
Yeah.
adaptation and all of that.
Yeah.
And that's also how we behave. Like, there is importance to our kids being able to count on us and like know we'll be there for bedtime, right? But
Right.
that doesn't actually have to mean every single bedtime for their entire life.
Mhm.
They're also going to Everyone will be strengthened and fortified by sometimes switching it up and
Yeah.
having to have new challenges. And then you're there again.
Yeah. Because heaven knows life is going to switch a lot of things up on them. And mama can't always
Oh,
be there. Yeah. And that's
no.
just a life
And
lesson
that's
that they're
our
going to learn early on.
and don't we want to know, we want our kids to know they can always count on us, that we will always be there for them, because of course we will. And our job is to teach and empower our kids to be able to handle the things that life is going to throw us at us,
Mhm.
which are always going to be inconsistent, surprising, in not always great ways, right?
Right.
And to have that adaptability and that trust and comfort within themselves, which we're also trying to nurture within our own selves,
Yeah.
which then models to them in their own selves, that they are safe in their body, that they
Mhm.
can, that their needs are met, they are taken care of, that is part of who they are in the world. And the thing is, same Z's for us,
Mhm.
right? But we are also now shifting into this new role where we have to do it for ourselves and them, which is insane and overwhelming and all of that, but also this beautiful opportunity to learn alongside our children the
Right.
same things we want to instill in them and empower them to feel. The best way to do that isn't to say you want that for them, but to
Right.
embody it yourself.
Right. Yeah. You lead by example. Mhm.
Lead by example, which is, again, like another great opportunity to think about what are your
What
priorities? What
example
are
are you
your
setting?
values?
Mhm. Yeah.
What example are you setting? And and did you know, like, it's because I don't want it to then become, oh my God, I have to watch every single move I make. But like,
No.
the things you're
But like,
doing,
how
did you
about we
realize
sit
you were
down?
doing it?
Right, right. I even tell my moms, we're in a session right now, and it was like, why don't you sit down next to your kid, have some lunch, and don't like just finish their crust and mac and cheese after they're done. Like, why don't you sit down with them? Like, you prep them and you prep yourself something, right? And I know it's all chaotic and whatever, and but then maybe they'll start to recognize that, like, oh, it's not mom just like serving me all that, right? Like, you sit down and you take some bites and you feed them and you like, right? And then
Yeah.
And then you get into like why we should sit and eat and digest and blah, blah, blah. But like,
Right. Then there's a whole bunch of that stuff too, but it's
yeah,
also just modeling that, like, to them also, like, yes, my role isn't just to serve you, and your role in the future isn't going to be just to serve
yeah. Mm-hmm.
your kids or your, you know, your family, that your needs matter too.
Your
And it's,
needs matter
yeah,
too.
your needs, again,
Yes.
it, your needs matter maybe a little bit more, but it's not that you
That's our
have to
new
be at the top
hashtag.
of the list, but you absolutely have to be on the list
Yep.
alongside
Yeah.
your family.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean,
Yeah.
otherwise you're going to just yell at everybody all the time. And if that's what you want to do, go for it. But for most, I think
And then see how
usually,
well that works out for you.
I know, usually it doesn't feel good.
It
And you're
doesn't.
just like, sorry, everybody.
That's all right. Sometimes you need to get it
I
out, and
just,
that's okay. You can come back, apologize, and
I
like,
just really needed a workout and a snack and a little nap. Like, I need.
sometimes you just need a few things, and it's like those 3-4 hour stretches you get in the newborn phase, and you're like, I'm a new woman.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
That first time you
Beautiful
sleep
things.
5 hours and you
Yeah.
wake up, you're convinced the baby,
100%. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I always, with both times, I'm like, they must have died, because
Are you
there's no
breathing?
way.
They're not breathing.
They must have,
Yeah.
because there's no way, there's no other reason I could feel remotely rested right now. And then I look at the monitor and it's like, they're sleeping.
Yep.
The baby is actually sleeping. It's amazing.
It's amazing. There's sleep in your
Amazing.
future, mamas. There's sleep in your future. There's good sleep in your future.
They're,
You have to just know all the tips and tricks and things sometimes. And then again, that's why we're here in this space talking to a bunch of different sleep experts as well. Like, here, let's share with you all these like tips and tricks and things that we can support you in on this journey. And it's really empowering to know, really what's going on with our babies developmentally, and what they can have,
yeah.
they can't, and what they should be able to. And I think that's really powerful too, because if we're not getting enough sleep and water, we're literally dying. So like,
Yes. And the same thing with them. It's exactly the same with you, right? Like, how are you improving the quality of the
yeah,
sleep that you are getting? Because you're not going to get 8 hours of sleep right now.
yeah, yeah,
But what do you do with the sleep that you have? Same thing with your workouts. Like, you're not going to get that picture perfect Instagram
right.
trip to the Instagram worthy studio right this second, right? Like,
Yeah.
so,
Do what you can when you can, and it will make you feel better. So you have access for them to take your Pilates class, try it out. It is
yes.
amazing.
So
You're
where
gonna
is your
love it.
vagina pointing class?
Where is your
Which was,
vagina pointing, ladies?
so to get all of you aligned. And I was holding onto a pen for no, just fiddle with. That class, fun fact, I filmed when I was just about 3 months postpartum. So it is appropriate, safe. I offer options for your body wherever you are. And I had people in the class who, I've had people take the class who are currently pregnant, postpartum, newly or later, and it's appropriate and awesome for all of the bodies.
And safe. I love it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Alissa.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
My
all you
pleasure.
do, and thanks for who you are and all the things that you are offering and putting out in the world. You're such a delight.
Thank you.
And you guys look for our We Got You Mama musical coming out 2026 summer.
2026. Yes.
Yeah. We gotta we gotta
we
get
need time.
Your baby out of like baby stage, maybe just a little bit more. Not that you can't do all the things when your babies are babies, but like, if we're gonna be on the road and touring,
100%.
A little bit easier when your baby's older. The sky's the limit, right? Especially when you get those babies out of diapers. There's an end in sight. There is, and it's beautiful. Then you get to venture into a whole other stage of motherhood, which is beautiful as well and challenging in its own ways. But anyway, I could chat with you all day, Alissa, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Please go check out her video. Go to her site. All the links are available, and all the stuff that we sent out in that email for this episode. So check it out. And let's pay more attention. Let's pay more, Pippa can't speak anymore. Let's pay more attention to our vaginas. pay more
Where
attention
is your vagina
to
pointing?
our vaginas. It's so important. It's an important part of our body, right? We wouldn't have these
Yes.
babies without them. So, on that note, thank you,
That's
thank
a
you.
perfect way to
I mean,
end.
I don't think we would. I mean, I guess maybe 50 years from now, they're going to figure that out. But for now,
Not yet. For now.
for now. All right. Thanks, my
I
love.
love
I
it.
appreciate
Thank
you.
you, Carly.
All right. Take care. Bye.